Vanessa Rissetto is the co-founder of Culina Health. Her magic lies in her realistic and personalized approach to nutrition. With science as her first love, she's interested in helping clients take an active role in their health journey with the help of her expertise: personalized lifestyle plans backed by evidence-based, science-driven nutrition counseling, adult weight management, and building a better relationship with food. Vanessa received her MS in marketing at NYU and completed her dietetic internship at Mount Sinai Hospital, where she worked as a senior dietitian for 5 years. I love everything Vanessa's been doing, so let's bring her on the show and get to know her and Culina Health. All right, Vanessa, it's time. Finally, you're on the Be Well by Kelly podcast. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having me. So excited to be here.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch you from afar. You're like East Coast, I'm West Coast, and then every now and then we touch down on each other's coast. So it's fun to come together and kind of just talk about health and nutrition. And I'd like to actually start with your background. I know you built this amazing brand, Culina Health, and you've like got so much going on, but take me back to like the beginning. How did it start?
It's so funny. I always say that like I'm my parents' biggest disappointment because they're immigrants and I'm not a doctor. And I decided to in 2006, I decided to go back to school to be a dietitian because I felt that nutrition was like the wave of the future. I was like, hey, a lot of things can be helped by food, but all we knew about was like Atkins. We didn't have Instagram or anything. I remember like the first time I like took an Instagram picture being like, does anyone care? Is anyone out there? What is this? So we, I went back to school. I went to NYU. I was really interested in medicine and science and how that could be adjacent to nutrition. So it was very cool. And like people don't realize that like a dietitian really does do a lot of work with doctors. So you got to learn how the body worked from a clinical way. And then you learned all the stuff about food and like biochemistry and whatever. So I made it like very interesting and fun. And then I just started working in hospitals and doing all these different things. And then I had 2 babies and my husband was like, this is cool, but you can't be a dietitian in a hospital and give all your money to the nanny. So, and I was like, oh, but I'm not equipped to like rear children. So I'm going to have to do something else. So I just kept working in different areas and like had a private practice because I was like, oh, I'll learn. And then I can also like counsel people and take insurance. So then I was like, I'm gonna take insurance. I don't have to do like that much work, like to like get patients. That was really like the mentality of it. It's like, oh, hey, like then everybody can have access to this. And it's like, fine. But then it kind of grew. And then I was teaching at NYU, and Tamar, my other co-founder, she had her own private practice. And we met for a coffee because I needed to talk to somebody about supplements. And she literally knows everything about every supplement ever. It's really like it's crazy. You just ask her a question and you're like, whoa, like how much is in that brain? She's like, oh my God, so much. And she was like, I don't like being by myself. And I was like, okay. She's like, let's have a private practice together. I'm like, sure, why not? I'm always up for an adventure. And we were just gonna like hire 2 other RDs and see patients. And at the end of the year, like whatever extra money came, we would just like pay our taxes and split it. We didn't have like these like high hopes. We just wanted to like give people good care. And then COVID happened and that accelerated the need for telehealth. And that was the first time that insurance companies were reimbursing at the same rate as an office visit. And you could see more patients back to back.
Yeah.
And so with 0 marketing and less than a year, we made $1 million. It was the craziest thing. Like, right. Like people were like, how did you do that? And we're like, I think it was just the time. It was a special moment in time, the summer of 2020. People really cared about their health. They were trying to consume as much information as humanly possible. We were there giving it to them. And then VCs started circling, which was like also crazy because we're like, when you think of like a VC, you have like a picture in your mind. You're like, oh. And then you meet them and you're like, I can talk to you. It's fine. And so they were like, hey, nutrition is the next thing. Like, let's do this, which is like really cool. And so now we have a team of like 50 people, like, 35 40 RDs and the rest are leadership, marketing, all the things. Um, and it feels good. It feels good to be able to help people in a different way.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I kind of have full body chills for you because what a perfect storm. When you sat down for coffee, how soon after that did you like really hit the ground and become a team?
Like the next day. It's really funny, Kelly, is that
Wow.
I believe in intuition like so much. So when I
Mm.
sat down with her and she was like, let's have a private practice, I was like, cool. And my husband's like, what are you doing? Do you even like really know this girl? She was actually one of my interns back in the day. So I was like, yeah, I taught her. I was just like, you are crazy. It
Yeah.
was the same thing as when Tamar and I actually joined our private practice with like a tech company. And when we sat down with them, I had 2 calls with them. And at the end of the second call, I went to Tamar and said, we have to give them half of our company. And she was like,
You're
what?
crazy.
You're crazy. And I was like, that's what my husband said about you. You have to trust me. Like, let's just do it. And she was like, okay, I trust you. And I was like, okay, cool. And I always give this to Tamar is that if you say to Tamar, do you trust Vanessa? And she said, I trust Vanessa with my whole life more than my own husband. She always say that. She's so
Wow.
good. She's so good. I love her so much. So yeah, so like I just get the feeling, I got the vibe, and like immediately Tamar and I started working cohesive. Like when we bought Steve and Team in, like all of us came together and it was cohesive and like everybody survived, but like one person. So I don't know. We just,
Wow.
if it's right, it's right, I feel. And if you don't have to really force it,
Yeah.
it works.
If it immediately feels like you're aligned with what the purpose is and where it's going to go. And when you make I mean, these are big decisions that you're making. So obviously like you're leaning on your gut and your intuition and like, what does this feel like even energetically in a space with someone else? So when you and Tamar started your business, were you each working in your own houses and virtually seeing clients? And you were your RDs, so you're like using insurance, you're getting people that way. Then it just like started flooding in because of Instagram or because of
Yeah, it was the summer of
press?
2020. Yeah, it was the summer of 2020. I wrote an article in Bon Appetit about the nutrition industry, about the academy, about how like there just isn't a lot of representation in the field. I just used the stats
Yeah.
that that were on their website. It wasn't like I didn't make it up or anything.
Yeah.
And you know, we talk about, or like we, the collective we, will talk about how African Americans are more prone towards obesity. Mexicans are more prone towards diabetes, whatever the number is,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And it makes it sound as though because they're African American or because they're Mexican, but it's really because of lack of access to
Yeah.
practitioners that may look like them. It doesn't make you want to go seek out a dietitian if every time you look at a dietitian, that dietitian, you can't find one that looks like you. It's the
Yeah.
same for like LGBTQ or whatever. So I wrote about that, and something sparked something in other people that made them interested in talking to me, and
Yeah.
so that just gave us um more visibility because like there's enough room for all of us here. It was
Yeah.
just felt like for so long there wasn't a lot of representation, and so we became that voice of representation. And like we talk about science and we talk about personalization and we talk about data and we want it to feel good. And the truth always lies in the middle. Maybe it's intuitive eating, maybe it's it's never calorie counting, but it's more like it's blood sugar, right? Like it's like
Yeah.
this is how food affects your body and this is what you need to think about. And so when people heard that and they were like, oh, there might be something here for me,
Yeah.
sort of just like opened the world up a little bit more. And
Yeah.
so and that's what it was.
Yeah.
And I think also it feels good for Tamar and I because I think like much like you, like right, like we're in the same space, but we can support each other. And so I'm always trying to, and Tamar's always trying to put other nutritionists, wellness experts, dietitians out in the forefront
Yeah.
because the more visibility of practitioners who are highly functioning and competent, they're telling the truth, the
Yeah.
better it is for fragmented space.
Absolutely. Well, I will say, Erica Chidri Cohen is a friend of mine. She started Loom. I did all my prenatal classes with Sebastian there, and I remember her telling me that like the African American or Black community, like the paternal or maternal health stats of like Black women delivering babies and just, I mean, again, like full body chills. It's like heartbreaking that there is, maternal death during delivery and, you know, just being a mom who the child who went to the NICU. It's just like, you need to find your people, and that needs to be okay. And we need to feel comfortable with our practitioners and have someone that we can lean on and have someone that because these are very personal experiences, whether it's your like trying to get healthy or feel well, or delivering a baby, or having to go through cancer. Like, it doesn't matter what part of the health like journey you're on. If you don't feel safe with the person taking care of you, like, you're not going to advocate for yourself.
Totally. And like, there's this idea that physicians know everything. One time in my internship, a physician, he said to me, I don't really know. I'm just practicing medicine. And I was like, holy shit. like what?
Yeah.
But it opened my eyes, right? And he had a very, frank conversation, which was, I went to school, I'm at a top medical center, I see a lot of different patients. And so I'm going to go through like knowledge and experience, and this is how I'm going to treat patients. And you're
Right.
like, wow, okay, that makes sense. I also realized the gift that I had of working at a major medical center, and all of my physicians are also my friends. And the guy who delivered both of my kids, he doesn't deliver babies on Tuesdays, Kalapari, wherever you are. On Tuesday morning, I called and Paula was like, it's not Kalapari, it's Hassan. I'm like, no, he's there. She called me back. She's like, he's waiting for you. I'm like, I know. Because to your point, wanted to know that if something was going to happen to me, that there was somebody over there that cared.
Yeah.
That wasn't going to let me die.
Yeah.
Really, it's really sad that this is what the world is. But like, that's the thing. We coordinate care for people. We know all these physicians, so we know we can send them places where people are going to listen and people are going to have better outcomes. At the end of the day, you just want to make somebody's life better.
Right. Right. And it's about finding your people. And
Yeah.
you have 40 RDs helping people do that.
Yeah. It's good. It's really good. Feels
Wow. So for you personally, how long, and are you still seeing patients and clients? Like, are you still working with people personally, or have you kind of taken a step back to handle the whale that you created?
Yeah. So I go in like waves. So, when you're in the height of fundraising, you talk to nobody, not even your children or your husband. And then it kind of dies down. So you're not fundraising anymore and you're running a business, but you always want to have a pulse on what's happening. So I'm seeing patients. I saw 2 patients yesterday. I'll see 3 patients tomorrow. Um, Everyone's like, don't do that, Vanessa. But I like it.
Yeah, me
I,
too.
I like it, right? Like
You have to find it like depends on the season. And I think you have to find, like you said, like if you're fundraising, like for me, it's like if I'm like group coaching, or if I'm like in the height of like launching a product or writing a book, I'm like, whoo, I like can handle a couple people a week. But back in the day, like it was my survival. Like I was
yeah,
seeing 6 to
30,
8 clients a day and being like,
yeah, 30 people a week. Yeah.
like,
You're like,
how
this
am
is
I
it.
going to write everybody an email?
Yeah.
I need
Yeah.
another work day to do that part. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny though, because we have a VP of clinical affairs, Elizabeth, who I'm like, if she could, she'd fire me. Because she'll be like, did you write the note on the patient? I'm like, no, but I billed insurance. She's like, no. I need you to go back in and write the note. I'm like, I sent them an email. She's like, this is not it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I can go back and I like type and I do the note. It's like, but I mean, I'm delivering the good care. I like seeing patients. It's fun. It's exciting. It's energizing when they feel happy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just want to make people happy.
Yeah. And it's like as you grow and as you build like the boundaries for yourself and your personal time and your family and your kids and like all that is so important. And it's kind of like always this dance, right? Of like, okay, I'm all in. Where's my family? I got to get back. Like I got to put some more boundaries back up. And I think it kind of parallels your people's food experience, but no one's really honest about that. They're just like, oh, she eats black and white, like this is what she eats, this is what she doesn't eat. There's never emotional eating. There's never, and it's like, hello, life is your work life, your family life, how it all changes. Your food parallels all that. And you talk so much about that. I would love for you to just kind of like expand on like how that even hits you personally.
Yeah, but I think you're right. Like just what you said, like people, I think first of all, probably for people like us, people look on from the outside and they're like, oh, she must always eat vegetables at every meal. And you're like, I don't know. My husband bought a 2 liter of Diet Sunkist on Saturday and I drank half of it. It was there, it was delicious, it's underrated, and I don't care. Like, you know, it's not always perfect, right?
Yeah.
And like that's okay. I think the more honest people are about the fact that no one's life is perfect. Everybody has some kind of relationship with food
Mhm.
and we all have to eat. So it's complicated. Even if it's not super complicated, it's still complicated. The world is a weird place. How you grew up, like, did your mother have an eating disorder? Did you grow up food insecure? Did you like I grew up with a Haitian mother and Haiti is a third world country and she came to America and like, you know, went to college, got a job and could there was always access to food. So all of my food was always prepared. And so I never learned anything about food. But I always felt so irritated that my mother made every meal when all I wanted on a Friday night was to like have pizza, like all my American friends. And my mom was like making rice and beans and chicken. And I'm like, I just want a fucking slice of pizza. That when I got to college, I didn't have a thumb on me. And so I went crazy and ate everything I could get my hands on, not because I had some nobody was telling me I was overweight or putting me on a diet or my mother wasn't dieting or weighing herself. We didn't have a scale in our house. The only time I ever got on a scale was when I went for like my annual like physical at school. But because I didn't understand food, I gained 50 pounds.
Yeah.
Like and like what is also hilarious because you know it was like the 90s, nobody really said anything. And then I moved back home after college and I lost 50 pounds going back to eating my parents' food. That triggered something in my brain to be like, oh, how did that happen? What like,
Yeah.
okay, it's something here. I don't know
Right.
what a carb is. I don't know what a fat is. I don't know what a protein is. I have no idea. I just know that there's Atkins and you should only eat burgers. I don't understand and eggs. I have no idea how this is gonna work. So it's like all like very like curious, right? And
Right.
so like that's the thing. It's like, how did you grow up? That is informing you. How do you relate to the world? Do you have a lot of emotional stress? And so like the solution has to be very personalized when we're working with someone. It can't just be write it down here, do this. It's like, how do we talk to you? But you have to give yourself like grace. Every meal is a new chance to achieve whatever your goal is. So like, who cares if you drink the diet Sunkist? I just think about like the carcinogens that I put in my body, but then I justify it. I'm like, I'm outside breathing air in New York City, so it's the same. My husband's like, it's not, but okay.
Yeah.
But like, you know, like okay, tomorrow's a new day, so fine. Like we'll just keep trying, and it's not perfect for everybody. So and if you always remember that, you'll probably do better.
Well, you know what? I don't even think if you realize this, but you just justified something, right? You broke your own food rules or your own beliefs about something that didn't cause you to be triggered by it, which I think is such a big teaching for so many people why like really strict rules can, if you can't talk yourself out of it, if you just spiraled because you had Sunkist and we're like, well, forget it. Like, I'm going to get this pizza and then we're going to get ice cream. And then I'm going to like, you're making all these decisions on the heels of feeling shameful about the Sunkist. And instead, your superpower, and I think like was, which people should realize is a superpower for people that just get back on the bus or like decide to like keep moving throughout their day without being triggered by it, is to find the silver lining, to justify it, to find like, hey, whatever, like it's not going to kill me. My body's amazing. It's like ability to deal with that sugar or to deal with, you know, whatever it is there. Like that's so powerful.
I think because people find shame in failure.
Yeah.
I tell my kids all the time, if you never fail anything, you'll never be good at anything.
Yeah.
got to get really comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I say this to people and they're like, this can't be possible. And I'm like, it's totally true. Is that in my whole life, I was always just a little below. Like there was principal's list, I got first honors. If I played piano from when I was 4 until I was 18, I was never the last one who was the best one to play the piano, the recital piece. I was like third to last. Like there was always just, I was never the best, but I was always striving for the best. Sometimes I would study for a test and get a 50. That wasn't the majority of the time, but it happened.
Yeah.
And my parents didn't give me a lot of concessions because they were like, you're very highly capable. So if this happened, like I would say like, oh, it's a fluke, like it's a one-off. The kid, my parents would be like, no, dude, you didn't study hard enough, you didn't do whatever. And you got to try, you got to keep doing the things. And so I just think like, if you are used to not doing well at various points in life, but still getting back on the bus and trying again, then yeah, going out to dinner with your friend and eating 3 cupcakes isn't going to derail you. You're just like, whatever, I had 3 cupcakes, tomorrow I'll have breakfast and it'll be fine.
Yeah. So good. Let's talk about, can we dive deeper into emotional eating? Because that's a superpower in my opinion, what you have. How do you coach and work with clients? And what are your suggestions around someone who has emotional eating triggers and ends up feeling like a failure?
Yeah. So it's funny in the beginning when people are working with me, I like communicate with them all the time, which is why it's not scalable to have me,
Yeah.
but because I want to get into their heads, right, and talk them through that stuff. And so when someone's like, I had a perfect day yesterday and the scale didn't move, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, sometimes you wake up and you're feeling perfect and everything is perfect, and then you're like your fucking house burns down. I don't know, right? Like that's like the worst imaginable thing. And so here is like you're giving your worth to a number. And so let's go back to, you ate well. You felt good. You didn't feel any kind of trigger. You didn't feel like you needed anything extra. You still had a dessert and you just felt like so good in your body. Like, why can't we focus on the good? Like there's so much to feel bad about all the time, and let's not sabotage ourselves. Why do we want to sabotage ourselves? Because we want to give ourselves permission to go back to this old way where you were living in chaos and unhappy because you feel comfortable there. So now you got to get used to being uncomfortable. You got to move over this way. And you know, it's this dialogue back and forth of like, why are we behaving in the way that we're behaving? It's really tough because you have to look at yourself all the time and be really honest with who you are as a human being, why you behave a certain way, and are we going to take the path forward to make changes?
Right. Right.
A lot of accountability.
Definitely. And I feel, it's human nature, right? I mean, there are like so many triggers for all of this, whether it's like stress, boredom, like putting something off. You're like, I'll just eat something before I write that email.
Yeah.
Like I'm hungry all of a sudden. Like there's so many
Yeah.
reasons. Like I was just, even the other day, I was supposed to launch my vegan protein like a week ago. And I had an issue with it. It didn't meet the specs I wanted it to. It wasn't exactly like the sample that I had approved.
Mm-hmm.
And that was such a bummer. It's been like a year in the making. And like the other night I was just like mowing these chocolate covered cashews, and Chris looked at me and he's like, what's up? And I'm like, ah! And I just started crying, and I didn't realize I was like so upset about like all this work that it was like a failure to launch, you know? And it's so many times, I think for people, it's like, there's something under the surface that like isn't going right. And we're just like, how can we get that further down with something delicious, you know?
It's
and
just
like,
gonna come out sideways.
Right. Right. And being like, okay, it's not going to derail me. I'm moving on. Like tomorrow I'll have my Fab Four smoothie or whatever it is that you love for breakfast, and just like keep going, because you got to keep going.
You have to keep going. Like, why do we want to wallow in this like self-destructive? I don't know. Like, it's just like not benefiting you.
Definitely. Definitely. And like having people that can support you, whether it's your RD or dietitian or your life coach or whoever it is, your husband, whoever it is that's
Yeah.
like holding you accountable, checking in on you and all of that. So getting through the emotional stuff is important. What are some of your tips for like sustainable eating habits? Because I think people want to get consistent. We don't want to feel like we're having every time we go out, we're having the 3 cupcakes and feeling bad. Right. So what for you when you're working with a client, what are some things that you recommend? And how can we get consistent with our eating habits?
Yeah. I feel like you must find this too, is that every time somebody comes to you, you're like, you do not eat enough food. Even last night, my little nephew, my brother-in-law's like, call your nephew. He's hungry. I'm like, what is this? It's like, right. So then I'm like, Enzo, what's going on? He's like, oh, I'm playing football. And I'm like, why? He's like, because I like it. I'm like, okay, fine. And then the kid's like, well, I'm hungry. I come home and I eat everything. And I'm like, okay, well, tell me what you eat. And he literally maybe eats like 300 calories before his 2.5 hour football practice. And then, of course, he goes home and like overeats, right? Like he eats and he like just can't stop himself. So I'm like, okay, I have to like order the way this guy is eating and like all of these things, right? And so that's really, I'm always giving people food. I'm like, hey, I always start with this. Whatever you've been doing, you're here. So whatever you've been doing hasn't worked. So you got to do it my way. And they're like, all right. But I'm like,
Willing
okay,
to
fine.
try it.
Yeah. I was like, if it doesn't work, I will stand up wherever I have to publicly and say I'm a fraud. Just do what I'm telling you. And they're like, okay, fine. So there's that. And then I show them like, okay, hey, you're not comfortable with eating until 3 p.m., but every single night you drink a bottle of wine and a sleeve of Oreos 5 nights a week. So let's go back. When do you wake up? Okay, let's eat here. Let's eat here. Let's eat here. And then when they're like, how many calories? What are the macros? I'm like, no, let's talk about the components of the food. Let's talk about how blood sugar works. Let's talk about insulin. And I just like explain those things to people because people want to know. If you explain, like, insulin is a storage hormone. Too much insulin, weight is going to go up. Like, let's eat the right amounts of food for you and your body. And let's talk through what 5 breakfasts will look like that you will eat. Let's talk through ways for you to have vegetables. Like, oh, I don't want to cook vegetables every night. Like, okay, me too. I get bell peppers, cucumbers, carrots. My kids and we cut them up. We put them in little containers for the week. And yes, of course, I will roast vegetables, cook them on a pan, but you can just grab a handful of carrots and put them next to your lunch and you got veggies. And then when people realize that like people like you and I that's what we're doing to get it in, and they're like, oh, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
I don't have a chef doing it for me, and I'm not cutting up a bunch of broccoli on a sheet pan with crushed red pepper flakes and olive oil and shaved Parmesan. That's not happening either. I went to Costco, got a huge bag of zucchini, peppers, onions, and I dumped the bag in a pan, olive oil, garlic powder, cook it up.
Yeah. Well, that needs to be normalized right there. Thank you for even saying that, because it's exactly what you think. Like the recipes we're sharing on Instagram, we took the time to recipe test that and make something fun. But when we get home from a work day and our kids are screaming for food and our husband's like, where's dinner? And you're like, 10 minutes. Give me 10 minutes.
Kelly, yesterday I was a star. On Saturday, I roasted a chicken. And, then on Sunday, we went to my parents' house. And so, like, nobody ate the chicken, but no problem. And so I was like, I got that bag of veggies. I got the chicken. I sliced it up. I cooked up the veggies. I made a pasta. I put it on the plate. I was like, Parmesan cheese. Everybody ate. Everybody was happy. Cut up some fruit after dinner. I was like, I am killing this mom game.
Yeah.
20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not fancy.
Such a good hack though. Like a large protein, it can also save you money when you're buying a larger protein and you're getting it in bulk and like cooking the whole thing. People want their chicken breast to look like those like sticky boobs that you put on. They don't want to see bones or anything, but like such a great way to make it easy. What are some other like go-tos for you and your family?
Turkey burgers. I will like get the turkey meat and I'll like prep it, wrap it up in plastic wrap and put it in the freezer. And then like, okay, I'll take 4 of them out like on like this morning and put it in the fridge. And then when I come home, it's defrosted. Or I'll get like the frozen bags of wild caught shrimp
Mhm.
defrost that in cold water, 8 minutes on a baking sheet, olive oil, lime juice, eggs, shakshuka. That's Friday night dinner. Like, hey guys, easy. It's like
Yeah.
tomato, like canned tomatoes, eggs,
Yeah.
bake. And then you have it for breakfast. You can have it for lunch. Tacos, obviously, on a Tuesday, because that's again like ground meat and beans and, taco seasoning and like put in a shell, put in lettuce. I don't know, anything goes.
Yeah.
Um, like chickpeas, I'll like roast chickpeas on a baking cooking pan and just like season it up and like put it over salads, like whatever the surprise is. Lots of like very quick things. I think, but to your point, when they see the recipes on Instagram, they're like, oh my gosh, like so beautiful. But it's like, I thought about that. I tested it. I made sure it was good. Okay. Like, so yes, definitely make that. But
Right.
if you're in a pinch, if it's 7 o'clock and you just got home and your kid is like, mom, what are we eating? And I'm like, Rocco, I do not know.
Yeah.
Like, we'll let you know. So yeah, you just figure it out and do it quickly. And I think that's like a big barrier for people, right? They're like, well, I can't cook like that, so I can't possibly eat healthy. And it's like, well, you don't have to make that.
Right. Right. I know it is it and it doesn't have to be 50 steps and 500 ingredients. Like it
That's right.
it should and can be the sliced veggies that you're just like, and there's a veggie on your plate.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
let's celebrate that. And you find those wins and you just keep going.
Yeah. You keep going. And, of course, when you have more time and you have more resources, you can make, the grilled zucchini and grilled eggplant on your grill outside with your, flank steak and your chimichurri sauce. Like, I'm all for it. But, on Tuesday night, I don't have time for that.
Right. Right. I know. I had someone ask me the other day, like, how often are you like doing a new recipe? And I love the New York Times cooking app. Like, I just will like, I'll like look at it and just be like,
Yep.
show me where the 5,000 5-star recipes are. And I'll
Yeah.
just look at it and be like, okay, there's like 20 ingredients in this. Like, could I make something like this or have anything in there where I could do it with 5?
Yeah.
And I try to, but I'm making one of those new things like a couple times a month. I'm going back to those staples that we do. Tacos, everybody, chicken and veggies, everybody.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
not just like it,
Yeah.
it's the turnkey, it's the wash and repeat stuff that without overthinking that keeps me just putting food on the table for my family.
Totally. And they don't care. It doesn't need to be new and fresh every day. Like, you're not getting a roasted chicken every day, so you're fine. You get it once a week.
Right.
It's good.
And
And
look at
that's
your,
okay.
yeah. And you can look at your health journey, like to go to college, to eat a processed food diet, which most college kids do. Like I'm like
Yeah.
in my head going like, there was the Del Taco and there was the Wendy's chili
Yeah.
and there was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
the cafeteria food. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I got through it. Um, but to just simply go home and continue to eat the way you normally eat, but to have homemade meals and to lose all that weight, how do you like how do you get your clients in the kitchen and cooking, and what did that feel like for you in your body?
It's interesting because like I was born in 1978. So like I grew up in a time where like your mom was always cooking, right? Like
Yeah.
that was like normal to have like food at the table. Even though my mom's a nurse and she did work, my mom only worked like on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And there was still always like the meal was cooked anyway. And if she didn't cook, I went to my aunt's house down the street and like I had a home cooked meal there. So somebody was always cooking all the time. It's different now, right? Like now today everybody is working. Like you don't
Yeah.
have that luxury really that your mother is home or there's one parent home that is cooking. Also, a lot of these people, nobody ever taught them how to cook and they feel like super intimidated. So I, like you, right? Like when I'm watching TV, I'm not watching TV. I'm on like New York Times Cooking or I'm on Instagram, like food like accounts to look at recipes. And like you're saying, I'm like, how can I make this with less oil or like whatever? Like, how can I make this? One of our friends unfortunately got COVID and then at 47 years old got type 1 diabetes. So I like try to make things for him that are like, sugar friendly. And so I'll be like, oh, can I make this dessert where, and like Keith can eat it? Like, these are the things I'm thinking about. And so I encourage people like, hey, is there anything that you feel like you want to try? Or like, okay, you're cooking these things, or let's talk through like, how about we make a breakfast? Let's make a breakfast together. What would that look like? And then they try it, right? And then they feel like, oh, I did it and it was pretty good. Like, okay, great. Now like, let's plan out your week and see where we can fill in the holes. Like, okay, you're going out for lunch with a client on Tuesday and you have 2 dinners, one on Wednesday, one on Thursday. So how can we fill in between? Is it roasting a chicken? Is it making a meatloaf? Is it the shrimp on the sheet pan? Is it going to the supermarket and buying, and this is not just at Whole Foods, it's at ShopRite, or like the meat is already seasoned. The chicken is already on skewers. The portobello mushrooms are already on skewers. Like, these kebabs already exist. Yes, they might be just a little bit more expensive because they're prepped. But if that is something that you feel is going to make you cook the meal, then like, can we get it? Can we try? Like, how about you go get the frozen vegetables? They're ripened, they're allowed to ripen to the peak, and then they're flash frozen. It's minimal processing. And then you don't have to put it in the microwave. You can put it on a pan with olive oil and garlic and really make it fun and seasoned, right? So like, let's try those things that are budget friendly and fast.
Right.
And so it's normalizing that language for them, that they're like, oh, okay, I don't have to. This is not Le Cirque. Like,
Yeah.
right? This is not Jean George. I don't have to have this. Is like, my cousin and her husband are chefs. My cousin actually went to cooking school with Giada De Laurentiis, and she'll make fun of me because I use taco seasoning. And she's like, look, we can make taco seasoning. And she pulls like 30 spices out of my cabinet. And I taste the taco seasoning. I'm like, but it was in this one packet. I could just
Yeah.
use this packet.
Yeah.
So, but that's what she does for a living. So that it energizes her and excites her. And that's not the same for everybody else. So we
Right.
have to give people the permission to use the things that are of ease.
Right.
Like, it's okay.
It's so true because and you look at even just on social media, what is really taking off. I mean, obviously TikTok took off and it's
Yeah,
continuing
yeah.
to take off, and it's taking off because of exactly what you're saying. Like, people, there's this whole generation of people that don't know how to take care of themselves in the kitchen because either their parents did everything and they just came to the table and sat down and ate and they weren't involved in the experience. Parents were like, you need to go do an internship, you need to go, go to do your sports, you need to school's your job, whatever the case may
Yeah.
be. And they weren't as involved in the kitchen and things weren't as from scratch. I think back to my childhood, and you're lucky. I mean, my mom did such an amazing job. I love my mom. I'm so obsessed, but her generation here in America was fast. Like, it was, if it was homemade, it was a casserole with chicken,
Yep.
cream of chicken soup or a hamburger helper or something like that. And then there was takeout, and there was, I remember
Yeah.
Sizzler in my childhood, like
Oh,
Sizzler
yeah,
Kids
yeah.
Bar, like walking up and being like, do I want the rainbow goldfish or the chicken nuggets, So it is like, but on TikTok and these places where someone's showing, hey, here's some garlic powder, some salt, some olive oil, and a frozen bag of green beans in the oven, 400, pull it out, throw some parm on it. And they're like, what just happened?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's,
Yeah. Like, yes, my husband the other day, like, I was like, oh, I bought these green beans, and he was like, okay. And he's Italian, and his family like loves to cook, and just like put in the air fryer with some balsamic. Delicious. Now I'm
yeah.
like, can we eat these every day? He's like, sure. Like, just super simple. But you're right. Like, there was something that happened where it was like the mother went to work, and there was like all this stuff that made things like really easy. My mom even talks about like, because she didn't breastfeed us, but I breastfed both of my kids, and my mom was like, in when you were born, you could buy a case of formula for like 99 cents. She was like, they were just giving it away because it was like, why would you breastfeed when you have this ease of
Mhm.
everything like being done for you? And so that's where there is the problem. Like, everything has to be like fast because we don't have time. And you don't have time so much that you don't want to make time.
Right.
I get those patients sometimes, they come to me and they're like, I'm really busy, da, 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 and I'm not gonna make any single meat. I don't want to make any meals. Oh, by the way, I'm vegan. And you're like, and like, you need to give me ideas on the go that aren't just beans. And you're like, well,
The options are minimal.
very small.
Yeah.
But I get the people. I'm like, guys, I get it. You're busy, but you cannot be too busy for yourself. So you're gonna have to find time somewhere to do something. I'm not telling you that you have to eat home every day, but if you have all of those restrictions and you don't have disposable income to hire someone to cook all your meals, then there's going to have to be a little give and take compromise, because
Right.
I'm not a magician.
True. I mean, if it is a value, if it's a pillar for them and like something, a priority and something that they value, there's no other thing in your life where you're like, where you don't have to put in effort and work to get it. And food included. Like if you want to feel energetic and you want to eat homemade meals, you either have to have the disposable income or you got to put the work in. You can't just have it as a value in your life and not work towards it.
Yeah, it's like just not possible. I'm like, I don't really know how to help, because your options are limited. You know, if it's always like someone who's like, and I'm vegan, and you're like, okay, I can't. It's really hard. You can't just go to the gas station and get like 2 hard-boiled eggs, guys. Like, you're gonna have to do something. Or they'll be like, I drink a lot of vegan protein powder, and you're like, okay, but like that's it. You got to have some other things.
Right.
So you're just trying to like normalize people caring for themselves, and like you said, you have to put in effort for everything you do in this life.
Right. Well, let's jump into like some of the things that you do with clients. Cause like having a client who has all these restrictions and is also layering on a food lifestyle that they're identifying with, vegan. How do you have conversations with clients who want to identify with a specific diet or food lifestyle? Do you support that, or do you try to break those rules down? Like, there's a lot of polarity in the nutrition space. So how do you address it
Yeah,
personally?
so like I I always try to go back to the science and the studies. And so like I spend a lot of time reading the studies and like trying to consume as much data as humanly possible. And when someone comes to me and is like, hey, like I want to do keto, and you're like, all right, well, fine, but the studies show that you could lose as much weight if weight loss is your goal if you eat a varied diet and pay attention to the cadence of the timing that you're eating and the things that you're putting in your body. So like, do you want to try something that's just like a little less like mental gymnastics and more just about like nourishing your body and like having like variety in what you eat, and something that's just like more sustainable? And so when I present it in that way, because it's not judgment. It's like, if you want to do something, you can, and I'm trained to support you in that. But you're coming to me as the expert, and those things I know don't stand the test of time. So let's just try something that's a little less gimmicky. Because of course, if you just omit an entire food group, you're going to lose weight fast. It's
Right.
not. But is it going to stay off? Probably not. So let's think of the behaviors around that, etc. And usually they buy into that. Actually, I've never had somebody be like, no, that's what I want to do. And actually, the only time that I myself was like, you need intermittent fasting was when I had a shift worker. I had one shift worker. He worked overnight. He was like, hypertension and, type 2 diabetes and all the things. And we did intermittent fasting, and he lost 60 pounds in 6 months and reversed all the things. And I kept being like, hey, like, can you take the day shift? And he's like, no, I don't want to work where there's people like I have to talk to all the time. I like working overnight. And you're like, all right, fine.
Then
And
you got to
so,
eat overnight.
yeah,
And
it was
no
like
other time.
yeah, it was like this whole thing. But he did it, and it was great. So that's to show that like it's not that these things don't work, but it's like, how is it going to be sustainable for that individual?
Right. I mean, that it rings true to me because it's exactly what you say. Like someone might be super keen on intermittent fasting because they followed an Instagram account that showed this weight loss transformations, and they're really motivated by that, because that may be motivating if if some type of vanity goal is a goal for them, and they're like, I want this, what this person has, and it seems so easy and it's a quick fix. But that marathon of, okay, great, you lost 15 or 20 pounds, and then I get to see you again in 6 months because we're back where we started, +5, and you're really frustrated, and you feel like a failure, and there's all this shame connected to it, and you can't figure out what's right for you. It's really looking and taking stock of, what is your life? What is, let's say, you in 20, 30 years, are you still able to do this
Right.
sustainably?
Right.
And does it bring you joy? And does it work with your family or your job or whatever it is? Because if it doesn't, like,
Yeah. And like, do you want to be in your 60s, like counting macros?
no, please, no.
Seems like a lot. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be doing that. Like, so, yeah,
No,
yeah. Let's not
definitely
do that,
not.
guys. Totally.
All right. Well, so I have to know then, like, I mean, I've always admired your work from afar, and
Same.
I feel like just it's almost like, what would your grandma tell you to do here? Like,
Yeah.
just it's not a flashy, hey, this is gonna lose, you're gonna lose 50 pounds in 50 days. Like, it's not an infomercial, it's not gimmicky. It's very, it's there's there's solid science behind it, and it's grounded, which feels really yummy to me in like the right kind of way. How are you infusing that kind of philosophy across Culina Health? And how do you, because that 40 RDs, that's a lot of women and men, maybe, or all
Yeah. Yeah.
women,
Yeah. Women,
or
no, women and men. Women and men. Yeah. Yeah. We do a lot of training. We have a lot of supervision. We, foundationally, we have an algorithm, and we build on that and personalize it, and everything is rooted in science. But at the same time, it's like, what is your goal? Maybe your goal is that you're constipated all the time, so like, I'm treating you in a different way than I'm treating somebody who wants to lose weight, who wants to lower their A1C, who wants to lower their cholesterol, right? And so we know how to do that, and we are reaching as many people as humanly possible. And like, so that's right. The mission is to make it sustainable and accessible. Can everyone have access to this?
Mhm.
And like, so funny, not funny, it's sad but funny. It's the other day, somebody, we have a terminally ill patient. That's not the funny part, but the person is like wheelchair bound, and I'm like, why are we charging this patient? Because the insurance doesn't pay for it. That's like another insane part. Like, why isn't insurance paying for this person who has like spinal cancer and like needs help?
Mhm.
And I sort of see in the roster, and it's like patient with this terminal cancer, but like needs support. And I was like, can somebody refund her money, please? Can you just like refund the money, guys? Like, nobody caught that stuff, and they're like, sorry, we don't know, we're just like churning it out, right? And so
Right.
so there's that like business part, but like at the end of the day, like, we're here to help people. That is the goal and the mission, and we're doing it through science, but it's personalized. And there's checks and balances all the time. It's like any business. Like, how does it run? Some people have to watch, and quality control. What's
Right.
it going to look like when there's 300 RDs? I don't know. It's scary.
Right. You got it. No, you've been able to handle every single level up
Yeah.
for this business along the whole way. And you'll know when it's 300, if that feels right in your gut.
Yeah.
And that's how you'll know. Talk
Yeah.
talk me through what it would look like if someone were to sign up with Culina Health. Like, how often are they seeing RDs? Are the RDs looking at blood work? Can they call for blood work? Are you doing allergy testing? Do you believe in food allergy testing? Is there SIBO testing? Like, what's part of the plan to personalize it for people, and what's the cadence in working with them?
Yeah. Oh my God, you said SIBO, and I'm triggered because I have like recurrent SIBO. It's like just a
Oh,
nightmare, but because I have slow motility, but we're working on it. So when you see us, we check your insurance, we let you know what the benefits are. Most people are covered, actually. If you're not, we do have membership model for people, so it's, again, like, still affordable. We do like an hour and 15-minute intake, get through like exactly why you're there. We ask for labs. If you don't have labs, we will send you a requisition for your doctor, because in New York we're not allowed to um,
Yeah.
get the labs, and then we'll read them with you. If you have allergies, like, we have partners to like send you out and discover. It's really like shocking how like subpar care people get in general. People come to us and they're like, I have SIBO, and you're like, okay. And then they're like, so, but like, I need to do like low FODMAP, and the SIBO just keeps coming back. And you're like, okay, so why does the SIBO keep coming back? And they're like, because it just does. And you're like, no, no, no. There is a reason. We have to get to that reason. So we will like immediately send you to another practitioner. So
Right.
that's the thing that we have, right? Like, and also, are there practitioners that you are better served with than us? Maybe somebody comes to me and I can't see them, so they have to go see Kelly. They have to go see Melanie. Like, we do that diligence too, like, because there are great practitioners out there, and maybe we aren't for every single person, and we're humble enough to know that. And we know that, like, if we're giving somebody good patient care, then we listen to all the things and determine together, obviously with the patient, like, hey, we're not dismissing you. We're just saying, this is not my wheelhouse, and you need to go over here.
Definitely. I feel like I'm only as strong as my referral, my the people I refer out to. Like, if I'm missing something, or we hit a wall, or I know immediately in an intake I can't provide service. You have to have those people, functional
Totally.
MDs, gastros, whatever it is that you're like
Yeah,
trying to get to the bottom of something with.
totally. I had my reproductive endocrinologist is like a god, because of him I have two children, and I sent a friend to him, and he's one of like the top in the country. And I was like, how did it go with Copperman? And she was like, it's really crazy. He said that he wasn't the person for me and sent me to this other guy. And the guy that he sent her to helped her have a baby. And she was like, he said, this guy is better for women over 40. So like, you got to go to this guy. I was like, yeah, that is the
Yes.
kind of care I'm looking for, guys. Yeah. Like, this is good. So yeah, that's kind of how I want to keep things going.
It's so important. And then all it's going to do is just continue to increase and, keep your reputation sound. Because if you're underserving someone who could be better served elsewhere, it's always best to refer out.
Yeah.
Vanessa, I love everything that you're doing. I'm so excited for you and Culina Health. You raising money, bringing on all the RDs, doing big stuff in telehealth. And it's really needed. I mean, especially on the heels of the pandemic and everyone really waking up to the fact that their nutrition and health all year long is going to be it plays a role in how they feel and how they respond to disease states, viruses, you name it. So perfect timing, perfect storm, silver lining of the pandemic for sure.
Totally.
Well, what's next for you?
Kelly, I don't know. The Jersey Shore with the children once camp is done on Friday.
Yay! One day at a time, one
day
week
at a
time.
I am hoping to raise another round of funding and just like keeping the message going,
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, if you're an investor and you're tuning in right now,
Yeah.
please give Vanessa a call.
Yeah, Series A. Trust me, I'm calling all of them. But
yeah. It's cool. It's awesome. It's just making you a better businesswoman, and just it's really awesome to see female entrepreneurs like yourself get out there and raise.
Yeah, it's good. I'm gonna write a book. Like, everyone's like, write a nutrition book, and I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm writing a book on fundraising and being a woman. It's gonna be good.
Let me know when that's out, and we'll have you back and we'll deep dive what it looks like, because I feel like there are certain things in the world or in business in general where it feels like no one knows, we don't know anything about it until you're in it. And then all you're doing is calling people to try and understand how to do it, what to do, shortcut the process. And it feels like, whoa, such
Yeah,
a like
it's so
behind the conference room doors kind of a thing.
yeah. But then when the door opens, you're like, whoa. And then like the access that you get, like the people you meet, and you're like, OMG, this is crazy. Like, but it's like a dark place. Fundraising is a really dark place to be, and in a really like high place to be. It's weird. It's really weird.
Once you're in that conference room, then they're like, how do we give Vanessa all the support and help and advisors as she can get her hands on? So it's like,
Some of them are great. Some, yeah,
they give you their
yeah,
money and then they like want to make sure that you're just a little rocket ship to the moon.
yeah. They're like, we're 10xing this thing. No, yeah, it's an interesting. So that, yeah, once I write that book, we'll deep dive on that. That'll be good.
Okay, cool. We'll have so much
Uh,
fun on your
Thank
vacation to
you.
the Jersey
Thank
Shore.
you.
And
I'll see you when I'm in LA. I think
yeah,
I'm coming in the fall, so I'll send a note and we can
perfect. I love
do a
that.
coffee. Yeah.
I love that. All right. Well,
Cool.
take care. Where can people follow along? Where can they get to know Culina Health a little bit more?
Yeah, go to at Culina Health. And if you want to follow me in the circus that is my life, at Vanessa Rissetto RD.
Awesome. We'll put all these links in the show notes. People can go check out Culina Health and follow along with you personally as well.
Cool. Thanks, Kelly.